This is Croydon Airport, the first airport in the UK, and today we will be uncovering more about this fascinating airport and the history behind it. The airport was previously known as Beddington Aerodrome, and it was built in 1915. Beddington Aerodrome served as an airfield and was used to stop Zeppelin raids.
So Beddington Aerodrome was used as a Royal Flying Corps base in the First World War, and it became quite clear quickly that there was a commercial way of using flight and that people would pay to travel the world. And in August 1919, the government removed a ban on civil aviation. They'd obviously focused just on the warplanes before that. So that gave that an opportunity to be developed. And the earliest aerodrome was at Hounslow, and there wasn't enough space there, but Croydon had a lot more space and was already ready, so it was a good chance, and the first airlines began to fly from Croydon, and they built the first purpose-built building to allow people the departure areas, etc. in 1928. So it was very popular because it was pretty close to London. So people who wanted to travel into London from Europe quite often flew to Croydon. So some of the big stars who were on the stage or doing concerts and things in London might fly to Croydon and then be driven up to London for their shows. And it was also very popular for people to start to travel more widely. It was much quicker to fly to Paris than it was to go on the boat train. So I think something like 7 hours probably to go from London to Paris via the boat train, but only 2.5 hours to go by plane. So quickly it was speed and it was luxury, and it allowed people to travel but also to do business in Europe more easily. So it was very popular for some of the early record breakers, so particularly Amy Johnson did her round the world flight from Croydon and came back to Croydon. So she was one of the key people who was important, and quite a lot of the big stars. I don't know particular names, but certainly there's a lot of written in a lot of books around and articles about the key people who travelled. So it was certainly very important for them. It was fine when the aeroplanes were much smaller, but when the big jet airliners started to be developed in the 50s, the runways and the space just weren't big enough, and by then there was more space to develop over to the west of London, what became eventually Heathrow Airport, and then obviously eventually Gatwick was added as well. So really it was the space. Croydon had become more developed and there wasn't the space to expand, and there wasn't the space for the large jet airliners to land.
Overall, learning about Croydon Airport helps us understand the history of airports in general and how it helped play a major role in the development of all future airports.